forum, which I think is how these local elections should be decided, talking with people who are in the community, hearing the concerns. And I think, aside from going to public schools my whole life, from kindergarten up through UMass Amherst, there are two women who shaped my view of public education. The first is my mother. And my mother is retiring after 35 years in the local school system. What I learned there is not just the work that's brought home being an educator, not just what you hear about a 6-hour day or the summers off, but you really get to see the work that goes into your profession. But I also got to see what it means to have affordable health care. And when my father got sick, if it wasn't for the benefits that my mother had through her union, I wouldn't have this opportunity to ask for your vote. Probably wouldn't have been able to go to UMass. And understand the importance that it doesn't happen on its own, but it takes someone who's experienced in those fights. And the second woman who shaped my view of public education is Senator Candaras. I served as Gale's chief of staff for 6 years, and during a very interesting 6 years for the state's view of K through 12 ed. And I was there during the fight for level 4 and level 5 schools, where there was an effort that had momentum in the liberal Commonwealth of Massachusetts to basically do away with collective bargaining rights. And we were able to fight that. And we took a horrible bill and made it not as bad. And there's still work to do there, because we can't treat our educators as scapegoats when something goes wrong. I had an opportunity to have a conversation with Dr. Pius, who's the new superintendent in Holyoke. And we're talking about funding, and he said, we don't need money. Money on its own doesn't fix it. It's taking responsibility. And we look for the people who take responsibility on the front lines. It's our teachers. And with your help, I hope to go to Boston with the message to let our teachers teach. It's what you go to school for. It's what you used to need a bachelor's degree for. Now you need a master's degree. As my friend Justin Bailey knows, as a math teacher at Central and going to school as well. It's what the people I grew up with, who stayed in this community to educate, whether Tiffany Evans-Mitchell or Michelle Santos is getting into the field.
Time, Aaron.
Well, thank you, David. And I hope I heard your vote. I'm looking forward to hearing from you.
I hope they remember how nice I was. Before we move ahead, I just want to make sure that people who came a little late, that they signed in. There's some seats up here too, if you want to come on up here. But that you signed in. Bert and I get paid per head. That's why we're very adamant about signing.
Can you say it twice?
Please. I thought it would be worthwhile, I know it'll take a couple minutes, but for each person just to say their name and what school they teach, if they're retired, where they used to teach, so that these people get an idea of what we're covering. Okay, I'll start. My name is Dave Bernstein. I taught for 35 years at Minnetonka. You guys aren't teachers, so we'll go right here.
Well, I wasn't a retired teacher, but fortunately for this group, I taught in Connecticut.
Okay.
Jeff Hamilton, Kylie Middle School.
Catherine Cassini, Kylie Middle School.
Mary Shelley, retired speech language pathologist, 36 years in the middle schools.
Palmer, Tabor Central. I'm not a teacher, should I say?
No. Go ahead.
Marguerite Foster, primary teacher, some elementary school.
Ken Har, Westfield State.
Marsha Hart, Long Meadow.
Andrew Willis, Springfield Public Middle School.
Chelsea Smith, Rebecca Jackson School. Christine Goonan, Stony Hill School, Wilbraham, Greece 200. Sheila retired teacher, 35 years, Wilbraham School. Ruth Saunders, soon to be retired, 34.8 years. Second grade, Bloodline.
Brian Malicki, Ludlow.
I'm Sue Saunders, unrelated to Aaron. I was an SEA member for about 22 years, and now I'm a member of the Auburn Area Association of Teachers.
Shirley Keats, Kennedy Middle School.
Michelle Santos, Peck Middle School in Holyoke.
Justin Daly, Central High School.
Justin Stratton, Springfield Central High School.
Jamie DeBurn, Long Meadow High School.
Ken Peterson, Portland Burgess School in Hingham.
Evelyn Toscana, William DeBerry Elementary.
Mary Gardner, I'm one of the Latin teachers at Minnetonka Regional High School.
Addie Shrewfire, William D. Mary Kindergarten.
Maya Gabriel, Ben's Park, Ludlow.
Maria Baez, Greenville Central High School, Special Ed.
Yvette Ramos Bishop, elementary school teacher at Washington, soon to be retired.
Lillian Finks taught in Springfield for 30 years, most of the time at Forest Park Middle School.
Pat Sullivan, retired, Springfield Central High School.
David Manning, High School of Commerce in Springfield.
Chris Williams, retired, 39 years in Springfield.
Kevin Moriarty, teacher at Minnetonka.
Roberta Albano, Springfield Technical Community College, 32 years in the health division.
Sue Post, Central High.
Mary Allen, Springfield Public Schools, 15 years, Springfield College, 25 years.
Kyle Campbell, Central. Bernard Cecil, Central High School.
Mark Bailey, Long Meadow High School.
Anybody else?
Tiffany Mitchell, Miles Ray Elementary School in Warren.
Phil.
Phil Doggett, Central High School.
George Friedman, Echoes, Springfield.
Great, thank you. Just give you an idea of how well-rounded group we are. So the way I want to work this, if you'd like to talk to these gentlemen about what it's like.
We got one more back here.
Oh, okay.
Jack Kavanaugh, retired last June, 37 years, Springfield Public Schools, and special needs teacher.
And he's one of the bartenders at the John Boyle.
That's only 4 years. And after being a teacher, I still can't retire.
Okay. So would somebody like to start? Go ahead.
My name is, as I mentioned, David Manning. I'm from the High School of Commerce in Springfield. I've been teaching there about 8 years, the level 4 school, as everybody knows. And tell you a little bit about my day. Of course, my job might be a little easier than most of the teachers. I teach ROTC. It's very popular. But as I look around, my day starts with children coming into my classroom and telling me I didn't sleep last night because I was up all night listening to my parents fight. Those are examples of what we deal with every day. And we not only get 1 or 2 of these, but every period. And what do we have to do? Some of them we have to fill out forms and direct them to the guidance, counseling. What I see, if I may mention, what I see what we need, and I've thought about this for a long time, some of these level 4s need alternative sites, and that, I know that's money, but alternative sites may help where they can get counseling, where they can get, they can continue with the classes, because let's face it, disciplining children, sending them home is not the answer most of the time. They need to be in school, and in order to, I think in order to get them through high school, we have to spend more on alternative sites and making sure that they have the services available. And these children do need services, believe me. I see it every day. And you know, someday maybe you could come down to Commerce and spend a couple hours there just to see what happens. The best time in the morning, 7:45. And you could get a good taste of what goes on here. And the kids are good. I mean, I like teaching here. I enjoy the kids. But what saddens me is when a parent thinks more of going out with their boyfriend than they do That's not my, then they do, sitting down with that child. And believe me, we have many instances of that. Thank you.
My name is Andrew Willis. I teach at Springfield Public Day Middle School. So it's a public day school. All of our students are on IATs. All of them are there because of significant behavioral or mental health or some combination thereof. So all of our students come in already disadvantaged. I have 8th graders that can't divide. I have 8th graders that can't multiply without adding them together. They get bounced around in our system because they don't have the outside supports that they need. Most of my kids have at some point touched on children and family services. We gotta have more resources put into that system to help my students succeed. Because when they have a stable home life, whether it's with their parents or not, they come in, they have medication, they have food to eat, they've slept the night before. If that doesn't happen, it throws not only that student out of whack, my entire class is gone. Because I have to deal with a significant behavior issue above the mental health issues. And then one student goes off, the others go off. So because you have parents that, yesterday I had a student whose parent didn't believe him that he didn't get to take his medication that morning because she didn't wake up to give it to him and refused to come in. He now has 2 staff assaults because of that, because he could not control himself. And he was begging for his medication. That would have come if you had family services there, if you had that support there. But our students don't have that. And if they don't have it at home, then you've got to find a way to get it for them. Because if they don't have those basic resources of safety, shelter, food, and clothing, forget the rest of it. My students can't focus on education if they're so hungry that they can't do it.
Around, we're a bunch of teachers who showed up.
I wanted to talk to you about 2 things. Because I work in higher ed, I want to talk briefly about the situation in the public higher ed system. Back when most of you went to school, or many of you went to school, you could go to...
We didn't go to school at the same time.
You all went to school before the poor students who have to go to school now. Massachusetts has cut their funding for their public higher ed system by about 35% over the last 10 years. The burden of the cost of that have gone on the families and the students who had to go, who went to school. And that burden is basically an unfair tax on simply those people who are going to school. It's my belief that public education is the right of every person, and in this society, especially in Massachusetts, where we have a knowledge economy, and we're being told that at least 2 years of college are going to be necessary for 75% of the jobs in the Commonwealth by 2020. We need to be in a position where we start to think about K through 16, or at least K through 14, as being the birthright of every man, woman, and child in the Commonwealth. I'm talking about 3 public higher education, at least through the community college level, through an associate's degree, if not through a 4-year degree at some point in time. Because college, basic college today is what high school used to be. And by not doing that, what we've done, the terrible burden we've put on our economy is this. Student debt right now is bigger than credit card debt in the United States. In Massachusetts, the average student graduating from one of the public institutions is walking out the door with essentially a debt load of between $25,000 and $30,000. The average student is walking out that door. What this does is it creates an environment where the kids who graduate from the poor kids that this gentleman was talking about, and that gentleman was talking about, who graduate from schools in Springfield, who do all the right things, They can't afford to take on that debt. They can't afford to go to college. We're basically dooming our society to be two separate societies. The society of the 1% and the society of everybody else. So your duty, whoever gets in there, to go down to Boston, two things. Free public higher education for all of the students in the Commonwealth. And the second thing that you really need to think about is, in order to pay for this, is to a constitutional amendment like Senator Stanley Rosenberg suggested to make our income tax a progressive income tax so that we can actually tax those rich sons of a gun and make them pay their fair share of the education that we need for all of our citizens.
Okay, I'm the other person here from Public Higher Ed, and I teach at a community college. And for many students, obviously, from all the surrounding towns and the city of Springfield, we certainly are one of those go-to places. However, we have seen the marked decrease in funding. And obviously, there's a debate that has occurred recently. There's an amendment in place to increase that funding because we do need resources. One of the things that we're tremendously reliant on is our support services because a majority of our students come in a developmental track and they are not even eligible to apply into a specific program. The program is the end all. That is going to put the student prospectively into a career. That's our goal. I mean, 2 years may be the end for some of our students and offer them job opportunities. For others, it's a stepping stone. They may go onward and upward to our state university or the University of Mass, etc. We can't endure continued decreases. It's impossible to try to do what we are required to do with constant diminishing of our budget. It's just, and we are asked to do, like all the teachers for K through 12, ever so more. There's accountability, there's the vision project, all of which are requiring very strict criteria. We in programs, we meet those criteria because we abide and we adhere to very strict standards pertinent to our programs. However, the colleges are now going to endure terrific kinds of adherences based on these visions. So I think we are always knocking on your door. Please consider the increase. We need those resources. If we're going to put the people into the workforce, you can't do it without the resources. You cannot do it for these students that need a developmental track. You are setting them up for failure. And then they're out the door, and then what? We have now a population of individuals who are work-worthy but can't get the jobs because they don't have the background.
Excuse me, go over the pieces. If you look at all of the teachers in here, you have to understand, in the last few years, we're dealing with retail. We're dealing with a new evaluation system that's mandated. We're dealing with the odious race to the top, where the government blackmailed us to take money to survive during an economic, and we have somebody in the Secretary of Education who doesn't care about public education. It's about privatization. We're dealing with all this. We're dealing with students that come in hungry, that don't know where they're going to sleep the next night. Your job is to go and represent not only all of us, but every single one of those children that's in front of us. Those children are not widgets that are going to be just some number on Pearson's scorecard. These are kids that sometimes it takes a while for them to mature. I've had students who know they failed in 7th grade, 8th grade, 9th grade, but all of a sudden they mature and they're successful, whether they go on to Stitt, Hoyle Community, UMass, wherever, they get successful. Your job is to make sure those kids stay successful. We're here to tell you that. And we want to hold your feet to the fire to them because there's a lot of us. And those children are going to be voting pretty soon. And I'll make sure they know who supports them because that's important too. Because without that support,